Sometimes you can give a photo that little extra something that will make it really pop by increasing the color intensity or color saturation in the photo. And you can do that not only to the overall photo, but also to particular colors in the photo without even having to make a selection. To do that, go to the Layers panel, and at the bottom of the Layers panel, click the Add Adjustment Layer icon, and from the pop-up menu, choose Hue Saturation. That adds a hue saturation adjustment layer above the selected layer, and it opens the Properties panel with controls for that hue saturation adjustment layer. To increase the overall saturation or color intensity in the photo, go to the Saturation slider and drag to the right. And as you can see, that's saturating everything. So even if I get the sky to the saturation level that I want, the foreground looks too saturated. So that's not going to work in this photo. Let's put saturation back to 0. And try another way. Go to the menu labeled Master, and here you see a list of color ranges. It's likely that the sky contains blues, so I'm going to select blues. If you look at the bars at the bottom of the hue saturation adjustment layer, the top bar is showing you the color range that's going to be affected now when I increase saturation. You can see that doesn't include reds and oranges and yellows and greens that we have in the foreground. It's just a range of blues. So if I drag the saturation slider over to the right now, only the sky and the hills in the background get more saturated, and I can really crank that up without affecting the foreground. And if I change the hue or the lightness slider, that will affect just the blues in the image too. So let's try dragging the lightness slider over to the left to make the blues a little darker. Now that I have the blues the way I want them, let's concentrate on the colors in the foreground. If I try to affect those the same way, by going up to this menu and looking for a range of colors to affect, I don't see a range that seems to correspond to what I see in the photo. There's no listing of oranges there. So instead, I'm going to close that menu by clicking off of it and select this tool, the Targeted Adjustment tool. With the Targeted Adjustment tool, I'll go into the image and I'll click on a color in the foreground. Keep your eye on the Hue Saturation panel as I drag to the right over the foreground color and notice that the saturation slider is moving. And in the image, the only colors affected are those on which I've clicked. In other words, I'm not affecting the blues, I'm affecting a range of oranges or reds instead. Now, that's too much saturation for my taste, so I'm going to take that back a little, maybe to just around here. So that's how you can affect the saturation, the lightness, or even the hue of a particular range of colors in a photo.